Let's learn about learned helplessness.
Unfortunately, our team didn't select you for further consideration.
I get rejected from all the job interviews. I'll never find a job. If this sounds like you, if you feel powerless and helpless by the fact that no matter what you do to deal with a difficult situation, it does not seem to make a difference, then it might be the result of learned helplessness. It usually happens after a prolonged adverse situation when you come to believe that no matter what you do, adverse situations are inescapable, even when you actually have an option to escape. Now, if we refer back to the previous job-related scenario, then you might as well stop preparing for interviews because you have come to believe that no matter what you do, no matter how much you prepare for interviews, you will never land a job. Let's take a look at the experiment that was carried out in 1967 that introduced us to the concept of learned helplessness. An experiment was conducted with dogs where the dogs were placed in harnesses and divided into three groups. Group 1 was the control group where the dogs were not exposed to any kind of electric shocks. Group 2 was the escape group where the dogs were exposed to electric shocks but they had an option to stop it by pressing a button. Group 3 was the learned helplessness group where the dogs were exposed to electric shocks but they also had no option to stop it. So for the group 3 dogs, the shocks were inescapable. Later, the same three groups of dogs were placed in a shuttle box where they could just jump off and escape the shocks. The group 1 and group 2 dogs quickly learned to jump off and escape the shocks. But group 3 dogs did not even try to escape the shocks. Due to the prolonged adverse situation that they faced earlier, they learned that no matter what they did, they wouldn't be able to escape the shocks. For them, the shocks were inescapable even when they had an option to escape. Now obviously, it was a terrible experiment and considered unethical because of animal cruelty. However, the concept of learned helplessness got introduced. Now, why did I mention about this experiment with dogs? Because the concept of learned helplessness has been applied to human beings as well. When this experiment was conducted with human beings by replacing the shocks with loud noises, they found a similar reaction. People who could not control the noise in the first experiment did not even try to control the noise even when they had an option to control. This happens after a prolonged adverse situation when you give up. When you give up to come out of the difficult phase of life even when you have an option. Alright, now we know the problem, but what is the solution? How do we unlearn learned helplessness? Now, in order to understand how to overcome learned helplessness, we first need to take a closer look at the explanatory style or attributional style, which is the way someone explains or interprets life events to themselves. Now, there are two types of explanatory style. 1. Optimistic explanatory style. In the face of adversity or setbacks, people with an optimistic explanatory style tend to blame setbacks as external forces or tend to see them as temporary events. 2. Pessimistic explanatory style. Now, in the face of adversity, people with a pessimistic explanatory style tend to see negative events or setbacks as permanent, personal, and pervasive. Now, these three P's, permanent, personal, and pervasive, are the aspects of explanatory styles. Personalization is internal versus external. Permanence is stable versus unstable. Pervasiveness is global versus specific. Now let's see examples of these three P's in both the explanatory styles. I couldn't do well in exam because I'm stupid. I could not do well in exam because the questions were out of syllabus. I'll never get a job. I did not get this particular job because I was not prepared. Next time, I'll get prepared before the interview. I'm always late to submit the assignments. I was late to submit this particular task, but I always submit my assignments on time. So, in order to unlearn learned helplessness, first you need to identify your characteristic explanatory style. And if you happen to have a pessimistic explanatory style, then you need to train your mind to develop an optimistic explanatory style by replacing the internal, permanent, and global explanations with external, temporary, and specific ones as shown in the examples. All you need to do is identify your thinking errors and the negative or unhelpful way of explaining things to yourself that is leading you to think you are powerless when you are not. You have all the power and all the potential to make a positive change. Leave a comment and let me know if you have an optimistic explanatory style or a pessimistic one. And if you have found this video helpful, then consider subscribing for more such videos. Also, you can give it a like and share it with your friends or family, whoever might be suffering from learned helplessness. That's it for today. I will see you in the next video. Till then, be healthy, be happy, and be kind to your mind.